Their work was raw, angry, filled with political slogans, racist imagery, designed to shock Britain. They called themselves the Black Art Group.
We call ourselves simply black artists because we try to deal specifically with those issues of imperialism and colonialism.
The term propaganda to me is fair enough. I mean, that is what I produce.
Music of blood, black, rare pain, rooted art care.
The artwork Destruction of the National Front was made in 1979 by a 19-year-old Eddie Chambers in response to racial tensions in Wolverhampton. Eddie was part of a group of students told by their tutors there was no such thing as black art, so they decided to invent it. Along with Eddie Chambers and Donald Rodney, the group's key members were Keith Piper, Marlene Smith and Claudette Johnson.
It was a time when everybody was forming collectives. And they were all forming in response to that moment of, you know, you had the winter of discontent, you had the rise of Thatcher, you had the rise of the far right. Especially around here. I mean, you can remember what was happening in the West Midlands in terms of recession.
Yeah.
So it was a really, really bleak time.
Closing down.
Yeah.
There was all that sus going on as well. There was all that stop and search. There was all that harassment of particularly black men. I mean, it was a horrendous time. And there was a sense of urgency. There was a need to do something about it. And a feeling that in order to do something about it, you needed to work together to do that.
This poster exists as a specific call for black people to come forward and deal with the legacy of colonialism.
The group's early works were too radical for the art world of the time, and very few were collected. In 2012, Wolverhampton Art Gallery realised they had no works by the group born on their doorstep and began to acquire key pieces of the era. But in the intervening years, many of their works were lost or destroyed. However, the emerging scene was captured on film by photographer Pogus Caesar.
In the early 80s, I actually started documenting all manner of things. I suppose in a way a lot of black history. And within that black history, there was a lot of black artists that I came across. Someone like Donald Rodney, for instance. He was a very sweet-natured, joking, good-looking man, but he had that way of disarming you. So then when you saw the work, you would go, wow, this is the guy who did this. You know, we would meet at people's houses and have debates, go to pubs, clubs, you know, there was all manner of things which were kind of happening. So I just started to document, sneakily sometimes. Other times people would pose with the camera. And I don't know whether it's through divine intervention, but that moment felt like we had so much power.
Another of the artists whose portrait Pogus captured during these years was the young Sonia Boyce, who, while studying at Stourbridge College of Art, spotted a poster for the first National Black Art Convention.
I just remember thinking, what is that? It was really, yeah, it was just really very curious. And I thought, well, OK, I just got on the bus, basically, to see what this thing was about.
The group had put a call out to art schools across the UK. It happened in this Wolverhampton Art School lecture hall on October the 28th, 1982, and marked the moment that a whole generation of young artists first came together.
It did set out to do some very specific things. Audacious. Is it audacious?
I didn't think it was. We called it the first National Convention of Black Art. That's quite audacious, isn't it? We had no idea until we opened up shop that people were even going to turn up. And I just remember being really excited. Every time somebody showed up, we'd be kind of kicking each other under the table and kind of trying to strain to read their names and, you know, find out where they were from.
And then people like Frank Bolin, those people were over here, and Rashid Areen.
I remember Sonia Boyce arriving because she had a parasol, for crying out loud. Yeah, she had a pink parasol.
And so I go to this conference and, of course, I meet members of the Black Art Group. They were all young, British, black, making work about growing up and being in Britain. And it was like, honestly, it was like some sort of fractal thing that had kind of gone through my brain, literally seeing this work and thinking, wow.
The conference is now seen as the day that launched what's become known as the Black Art Movement. One of the young artists whose life changed that day was Lubaina Himid. First trained as a theatre designer, Himid has become known for large cutout sculptures and bold paintings, questioning the position of black people in British art history.
I mean, it really is difficult for me to say the white art world is racist. It's difficult to say that because there's a sort of unchangeability about that. You know, I can't look at it like that. I have to look at it, the art world, as something that can be changed.
It would take over 30 years for the art world to catch up with her.
The winner of this year's Turner Prize is Lubaina Himid.
Last year, Himid became the first black woman to win the Turner Prize, ironically partly awarded for A Fashionable Marriage, a sculpture installation critiquing racism in the Thatcher years.